Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Husna Khairani, and today I'm going to talk about language policy and planning. So, language policy and planning means making deliberate efforts to affect how people use language, like how they learn it, how it is structured, and how it is used in different situations. And the people who make language policies and planning try to solve real world problems in where language is either the focus or like a tool to solve other social issues. And these planners sometimes not sees language as the central point, but or the language alone, but it is treated as an important part of other social issues. Decisions about language about language planning and policies can be personal or made for others. It happen at both individual and group levels. Next is the language decision. So in everyday life, we usually make choices about language without thinking too much about it because these choices are based on our cultural habit, yeah, that we share. So that's why we not think too much about it, but we do sometimes think carefully and make intentional choices in certain situation, like maybe in critical situation that we need to choose the words that we are going to speak. And for the language decision maker, so everyone is a language decision maker because we choose what we speak, what we write, and what we sign, yeah. That these choices can affect how we judge others. And other groups of the language decision makers are like teachers, the textbook authors or translator and more. And the third group we have experts like applied linguists who help to create or check the language planning and policies. Then we also have language policies, language planning, and language practices. So John Robin in 1983 explained that language policy refers to the rule or law about language use, while the language planning means putting these rules into action. And for the in 2004, Spolsky added that what we actually do with the language is what language practices, and it can give us more value, more, yeah, it can give us more about what the language policy than the written one. And then we have language planning and orientation. So language planning usually follows these three views like language as problem, language as right, and language as a resource. So this means that language can be seen as a problem to solve, a right to protect, and a valuable resource. And big languages often get treated as the valuable resource, while the minority one are viewed as the problem. And then we have language policies in public and private spaces. So, language policies, the government usually in language planning, the government will decide about the language policies, like whether it is by voting or made into official policies. While in the more private spaces like families, the rules are often unwritten. So we just know about the rules because we live with it every day, right? So in immigrant families, they often have to choose whether to keep their home languages or to switch to the dominant one. And then we have corpus status and acquisition planning. So corpus planning is like changing or creating a new words or grammar rules in a language. For example, with the new technology, so other languages than English might decide whether they keep the English terms, or make one on their own to refers to that terms. And for the Status planning is changing how people see a language, making it less or more respected. Like the government usually supported this by doing like you know the standard version of a language through dictionaries, and in schools they have choices like whether to use the both languages or support the minority one. And for the acquisition planning, it involves helping people learn new languages. So like when educators designs a lesson or a books to help students improve their skills. And then we have keeping language alive. So languages are disappearing, right? Statistically, it like two languages are disappear in a month. And when with the technology right now, we hear more about that losses. And language is in danger when the younger generation stop learning about it and it just disappear. And school actually try to help to bring those languages back by providing the learning in school, but the results differ. It depends on the communities as well, and we cannot predict how language use will change. So the language planners need to look into the social and economic aspect as well. That's why. And how people see language policies are also affected by their belief in language, their language ideologies. Like yeah, and in if I'm not mistaken, in 2009, Robin Williams and it's something Colin Williams, yeah, Williams, if I'm not mistaken, listed like 13 reasons why language policies often fail. Maybe from like the lack of skilled team, weak software, to not enough money. Hmm, interesting, right? And next we have language planning to for access. Yeah, for access to services. So language experts like try to make the language doesn't seem like the boundaries for people to get education, healthcare, or jobs. So it actually our task also, but because they are the expert, they're the one who responsible for this one. So people who not s- people, for example, the immigrants who wants to get a healthcare, but it doesn't available in their native language. So that's their job to provide it in their native language so they can get a healthcare. And then we have language policies and planning in globalizing times. So a critical view have about language planning and policies ask tough question like who is benefit from this decision. It looks at how language policies often ignore other possible possible solutions and how it affect people who have no say in them. Now let's connect the language planning and poverty. So some indigenous languages survive in poor and like isolated areas, and poor people often cannot afford uh, public services with language public services like bilingual education or translation. And it's wrong to think that poor people are bad at language. They have that in their language. They have the ability in their language. And also, uh, we can help this overcome this problem by providing like education in diverse language. Yeah, in diverse language. So it will happen, but at what cost? And for next is language planning and immigrants. So language planning firstly started in newly independent countries, and later it's influenced by the immigrants like to from poor to rich countries, from rural areas to cities. So the migrants need language to adapt to in the new place. So it means they need public services in their native language, right? So yeah, that's the language experts uh, try to look at that problem also. Next, we have linguistic landscape. So linguistic landscape is like the language that we see in public display, posters, or signs. So the expert can how not predict, can know, can analyze which language are the weak, are the strong, or the weak in a community. And then we have language planning as resolution, as conflict resolution. So recently, language experts have started using language as a to solve problem to ethnic conflicts, like something like that. So they work together to change laws and systems that are harmful to language minorities. And the last point is roles for applied linguistic. Finally, we've got to this point. So applied linguists can help with like bilingual education, like where with deciding which language to teach or to test, something like that, and also create books or lesson or something like that for people to use that match or challenge the language policies. It depends on them. And also like yeah, providing new insight about that thing. So that's all I can say. Thank you so much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.